Welcome to the Unity BootCamp lesson on universal authentication. We're going to start this lesson in the brainCloud API reference and investigate the authenticate universal request. Unlike an authenticate anonymous request, a few parameters must be supplied for an authenticate universal request. The first two parameters are the user ID and the password. The third parameter, however, is noteworthy. It is called force create. The force create parameter tells the server that a new profile should be created on the server in the event that the user's account does not already exist. Open Visual Studio and navigate to the network class. In the network class, implement a new method called request authentication universal. This method should take in the username and password as arguments, along with the authentication delegates from the previous lesson. Write a success callback lambda. In the body of the success callback lambda, log the response data and invoke the existing handle authentication success method. Next, we'll write the failed callback lambda. In the body, log an error along with the status message. And if the failed callback delegate is set, it will be invoked. Finally, make the authenticate universal brainCloud request. Pass in the user ID, password, true, to force create an account in the event that one does not exist. Also pass in the success and failure callback lambdas. Save the file. Navigate to the universal login dialog script. We need to declare a pair of private network authentication request delegates. These are being declared here, so that when we show the universal dialog from the game class, we pass in the callbacks into this dialog and then pass them on to the network class when the request is made. Next, we'll implement a public set function to set our delegate member variables. In the onLogin button click method, delete the to-do statement, and in its place, hide the dialog, show the connecting dialog, and then invoke the network's request authentication universal method. Pass in the user ID and password from the text fields, along with the callback delegate member variables as the arguments. Save the file. Due to this change, we need to go and make a modification to the Dialog Manager class. Open the Dialog Manager. We're going to modify the show universal login dialogs parameter list. Add a pair of authentication delegate parameters to the method. In the body, invoke the universal login dialogs set method. Pass in the parameters as the arguments. Save the file. Open the game class. We need to modify some logic in the handle authentication method. Delete the anonymous authentication request and leave this else statement blank for now. Move the statement that shows the connecting dialog to the if statement before the reconnect request. The universal login dialog will show the connecting dialog itself when a login is triggered. In the else statement that we left empty earlier, we're going to invoke the Dialog Manager's show universal login dialog, passing in the onAuthenticationRequest completed method as the argument. Save the file and then open Unity. Back in Unity, if you need to perform a manual refresh, do so now. Run the game. Notice the universal login dialog displayed. If it didn't, that means we re-authenticated with a reconnect request. Simply click the Logout button from the brainCloud menu, then click Login. The universal login display should now be visible. This is going to be the first time that we are logging in with these credentials, so the server will create an account because the force create flag was set to true. Enter your credentials and hit the login button. We now have a successful authentication with a universal identity. If we check the console, we can see that the universal authentication was successful. Checking the response, we can see the profile ID that was returned. Before we end this lesson, there's one thing I'd like to show you. Open your web browser and navigate to the brainCloud portal. From the app dashboard, click Users, then User Browser. Click the first user in the list. This will open the user summary page. From here, we can see that this user was authenticated using a universal identity. Email authentication is the next lesson in the Unity Bootcamp.